think that Hajj by its nature, you have to give up so much of your time, it would cause havoc with your existing sleeping patterns versus what happens during, Hajj, Makkah, Medina. What's your advice?
Actually, that's not the case. It's an idea of restructuring your daily timetable or routine, and most adults would actually get more sleep on Hajj than they'd get at home rearing kids. Let's look at this. So, sleep science teaches us that the body responds best when one sleeps in multiples of 1.5 hours. That doesn't mean that after 1.5 hours you got to actually wake up. It means you either sleep for 1.5 hours at a stage, or 3 hours, or 4.5 hours, or 6 hours. On Hajj, you'll rarely get the chance of sleeping for 6 hours all at one go.
You won't.
You won't.
Okay.
Not at one go. So it's sleeping in multiples of 1.5 hours. The times for sleeping would be late in the evening or early morning. So let's say midnight to 3 a.m., allowing you to be up in time for the Tahajjud, for the night vigil. That's 3 hours of sleep. It's 1.5 hours. Now, what informs, or 2 by 1.5 hours, what informs sleep science in terms of why do they prescribe and recommend that you sleep in multiples of 1.5 hours, is the idea that the body sleeps in what they refer to as sleep cycles. So if you plotted an XY graph, you'd have alpha, beta, gamma rays of sleep. And many of us would be able to relate to this. On an evening when you're very tired, you decide, I'm tucking in early, so you sleep an extra 1 hour, and you wake up, and at lunch the next day you're like, I feel really terrible, but I slept an hour more last night. It's because your body has woken up in the wrong sleep cycle or sleep wave. That's why sleep science teaches us 1.5 hours. On this trip in Madinatul Munawwarah, Makkatul Mukarramah, and on the days of Hajj, regulate your sleep this way. This would also instill within one a sense of self-discipline, because I need to be up at a particular time for a particular fard, obligatory prayer, or some specific ritual. If I mull around now and chit-chat with others, it's going to be less than 1.5 hours. I'm going to wake up. I'm not going to feel good about it. So you say your farewells and you move on to go and take some rest. It's a sense of self-discipline. It's never ever rude or abrupt. And it also keeps you with a much better body resistance compared to other people.
Okay, so two scenarios. Scenario one, you're not tired, and you saying we must still sleep. Is that correct?
Yes. Let's answer this. You're not tired, but you should still sleep. Or the other way is, you actually are tired, but because of being overawed by where you are and what you're experiencing, you can't sleep. Or let's take, for instance, a similar example of where it's in the day and you're like, I cannot sleep in the day, not even take a nap. The body gets 60% of the rest it would get when you are off your feet. So even if your eyes don't close, you don't have laundry to do, physically to do, or when you're on the trip of Hajj, either in Madinatul Munawwarah or Makkatul Mukarramah, at home you would normally wake up and do the dishes and do the laundry and do some chores. Lie on your bed, knowing that your body is getting 60% of the rest it would normally get. Count sheep if you may, or indulge in one of the spiritual currencies. Some recitation, some litany of adhkar, remembrance of Allah.
And then you may fall asleep.
And then you may fall asleep. And that's okay, because it's that same 1.5 hour session.
And the converse where you want to sleep longer, you're just so exhausted.
Well, the converse of where you want to sleep longer, know that if I decide to take a longer sleep and it's not a multiple of 1.5 hour, then I'm going to be feeling groggy and terrible at some other further point. And also knowing that breaking up your sleep into multiples of 1.5 hour means that I won't sleep 6 hours a day at one stretch, but I'll get some sleep late morning. I'll get a nap in the afternoon, which is also a sunnah practice of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I'll get some sleep in the evening. So once one decides to take on this sleep pattern or sleep routine, you won't have this thought of, I need longer sleep because the next time I sleep will be in 24 hours. You almost know that within 5 or 6 hours I'm either getting a nap or another dosage of 1.5 hours.
Should you, most people spend, say, a month between Makkah and Medina when they go for the Hajj, right? Should you practice this 1.5 hour concept before you go, or simply start it when you're there?
Best is to practice everything. The du'as that you make, the walking that's required at Hajj. Best is to practice everything before Hajj. If not possible, note that on this journey, you're building capacity for the pinnacle, which is the 5 or 6 days of Hajj. So if you haven't had the chance of practicing this sleep regimen of 1.5 hour multiples before actually undertaking the journey, it's never too late to start on the journey. Because when you come onto the places of Hajj, Mina, Muzdalifah and Arafah, By then, inshallah, you would be well into this routine.